All right, so here's the deal. The Carolina Hurricanes traded for K'Andre Miller. Remember how that went? Remember how everybody was excited about it? Remember how some people thought he was, and when I say some people thought he was, I mean like Ranger fans thought he was soft of some kind, but then Canes fans all came to their defense. There was a player included in the trade that was sent to the Rangers in return, along with picks that was sent to the Rangers. In return, K'Andre Miller was brought in, and I assumed it was a player that I would say a lot of Canes fans liked, but also Canes fans would immediately understand why he was included in the deal. I'm talking about Scott Morrow. And then Elliot Friedman, on his 32 Thoughts podcast, check it out, does a lot of good work, said this, and I have the quote here that I'll read for you. Friedman said, "I'm not surprised the Hurricanes traded Scott Morrow. They've got a lot of D. He wasn't ready for what the Hurricanes do right now." And my first thought was, you're not – him having to say he's not surprised means someone out there is surprised. And then I looked at the comments from Canes fans, and there was more than a couple people on the post that I was reading in the article in the comments that didn't like that Scott Morrow was included in the trade. And my first thought went to, no, it had to be Scott Morrow. That's good asset management. Now, for more details from the Canes, their own social media feed, team social media feed, on how the Hurricanes acquired K'Andre Miller, here's some audio.
His game's based on his physical being. What he brings is
can play in our system.
Yeah, he's got good feet.
He reminds me of Brady Shea. That's what the skating.
Yeah.
And getting up in the rush.
My instinct is to put in a second. So
First, second, and Morrow?
Yeah. I can do a first, a second, and Morrow.
So what are we trading?
A first, a second, and Morrow. So welcome aboard. We are very excited to have you. It's think it's a great fit. You know, the way you skate and close out is going to, it's just going to fit the way we play.
So there's a little jumbled there, but you hear the negotiations. You hear how they came to the compensation package for K'Andre Miller. First of all, and I said this earlier on the Adam Gold Show, I want to echo it. This is a loose reference, or it's just a terminology that comes from a fantasy football league I'm in. So I know you don't care about the fantasy football league at all, but I think there is a structure. There is a mechanism here that we need to bring to our coverage or to our fandom for the Carolina Hurricanes. In this dynasty, this fantasy league I'm in, we kind of have a language that we use, and one of them is my guys, okay? Like, that is my guy. And what that means is, if Graham were in this league and he approached me about trading for a player, and I responded with, just so you know, that's one of my guys, Graham would know.
He's untouchable.
Or you're going to have to way overpay. Like, if the player is worth 2 first-round picks, you're going to have to give me 4. Right? It's not that I'm never going to trade him, but it's that you are going to have to way overpay for it. So I tell you up front, like, he's one of my guys, so you know, like, you don't waste your time trying to come up with a super, fair win-win trade, because I'm telling you, like, I'm irrational with this guy. He's like a adopted part of my family, right? That's not saying I won't trade him. Everybody has a number, but you're going to have to knock my absolute socks off. But the understanding is everybody on your team can't be a my guy, right? Everybody in your system can't be a my guy. So when we're covering the Canes, I'm trying to come up with the appropriate number. I think what we're going to end up having is maybe 4 on the NHL roster, the big league club, and 2 prospects are your guys. And those players, you can get mad if they're traded. You can really feel wistful or reminiscent if they're on the way out. You can be bummed. But if anybody else is in or out or included in a trade, particularly for a player that the team has identified as a difference maker, you kind of got to eat that as business, right? They got better and they had to give up something. So Scott Morrow, good player, right? Drafted back in 2021, built his value at UMass over a 3-year college career, jumped up to the big league club, signed an entry-level deal, played 14 games for the Canes in the regular season, played the rest of the season in the AHL level with the Chicago Wolves, earned all prospect team honors with the AHL, appeared in 2 postseason games, had a rough go of it, struggled. Like, that's all good, right? That's all experience.
And also, he was coming into this postseason playing alongside Alexander Nikishin, which is like the next bread and butter for this Hurricanes organization that you would think fans would be okay with as long as Nikishin stuck around. Like, you would think the Hurricanes fan base would be having this reaction if it was Nikishin.
If Nikishin's included, I get it. My guess is on that my guys list, if I gave you 2 prospects, Nikishin's a lot of people's my guy.
Right.
So now here's the next part. Once you decide you're bringing in Miller, you have to recognize you aren't the best place for Scott Morrow to develop. He's a defenseman that'll be in your AHL squad because you have your 6 guys. Slavin's not going anywhere. Nikishin is going to be brought up and thrown into the lineup for sure. Chatfield's not going anywhere. Sean Walker's not going anywhere. You bring in Keandre Miller, and Shane Gostisbehere is too valuable to your special teams. So you have your 6. So he's going to be back at the AHL level where he's already earned all prospect team. Like, he's already proven himself at that level. So if you can send him somewhere where they can give him the reps necessary and the experience necessary to keep developing, he's going to be worth more to them than you. That's why you trade him away. Right? He might be worth whatever, right? Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, he might be worth a 7 to them and a 5 to you. So get 7 value by trading it to him. I like Morrow. I do. I don't think this is the Canes watching 2 playoff games where he struggled, throwing their hands in the air and saying, this guy is never going to work out. All that stuff we liked about him, all that development he did, it's all done because he struggled in 2. Let's get him out for whatever we can get. No, this is them saying, if he ends up being a third of Keandre Miller, and Keandre Miller signs for 8 years, and he becomes a tent pole, like a cornerstone of our blue line, that's good. That's good on Scott Morrow. That's good asset management. His legacy with the Canes will be a good one if he doesn't score a bunch of like postseason goals for the Rangers against the Canes, and Keandre Miller ends up being a stud. Then you look back and you go, Scott Morrow ended up being, a third of Keandre Miller. That's good. That's good. So my point is here, like, you can't be mad. You can't. You'll drive yourself crazy. Your arteries will pop if every time anyone is traded, you get all bent out of shape. So my point is, identify your guys, right? Identify who you want to truly invest in. And my guess is, if I give you like 3 or 4 on the big league club, it's going to be Aho, it's going to be Jarvis, it's going to be Slavin, and maybe one more, right? Everyone else, you kind of have to look at as a trade chip at some point. That's why I talk about like how important it was to get Jarvis on a long-term contract, because I'm like, now buy the jersey, right? Now buy the jersey. You can't do that for everybody unless it's one of your guys. And by the way, like, if Stankoven's your guy, that's fine. Like, I'm not telling you who your guys can be, but I guarantee you Scott Morrow would not be on everybody's list. It's for lack of a better way to describe it, I'm going to go to one of my favorite movies that I use as references all the time. Moneyball, Brad Pitt, right? There is a scene where Jonah Hill's character, who's like the assistant GM, asks Billy Bean's character why he doesn't travel to away games. And he's basically like, I can't become friends with these guys, right? I can't get to know them as people because I might have to trade them. I might have to cut them, right? I have to look at them as like stocks, right? So I can't become friends with them on the road. I can't get dinner with them. I can't be sitting next to them on an airplane because I might have to cut them. Now, I don't think you have to be that cold-blooded, right? And by the way, I'm just going to tell the scene because I think it's hilarious. Then they role play, and Billy Bean's like, all right, work on cutting me. Like, pretend you have to cut me. And Jonah Hill, who's, this young guy trying to learn the business, oh, we're going to have to cut you. What? My kids are in school. We just bought a house. You're cutting me? Jonah Hill hits him with, well, I wouldn't take him out in the school year. I'd wait for the summer. Billy Bean's like, what the heck are you doing? Just cut him? Get out of there. That's a funny part of a movie to say this. as fans, I do think you need those relationships. I do think you can latch on to certain players as your guys, and when they leave, you can be sad. But if you're getting mad or you're getting confused or you're real emotionally attached to an AHL player that played 14 games in the big league club that doesn't have a spot on the Canes roster at all, you might be going a little too far. Now just get attached to Keandre Miller maybe. He's on a long-term deal.